give and they get. Then they run around town beating their chests like they forget. I can forget for now, but I won't never forget. No, love I feel, knowing the universe got my back. Whoa, love I feel, knowing that money gon' come right back.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. If you are here, please subscribe, like, drop a comment, give us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts from. If you want more exclusive episodes from us, check us out on Patreon. The link will be down in the description. Joined by Uncle John. I'm calling you Uncle John now.
Uncle John now, not Cousin John no more?
Yeah, I don't know. You're more like Unc after this weekend.
A couple years older than you, fam. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But episode 3 of the Miami trip,
yes, sir.
Wade Houston, thank you for joining us, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is dope. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of your stuff before, and we're planning for the Miami trip, and you came up on my For You page. I was like, oh shit, yes, Miami. So I DM'd you immediately, and then you answered. I was hyped. So
nice, love it.
Thank you for taking the time. I want to start this. I saw you posted on your story either yesterday or the day before that you have only told 25% of your story.
Yeah.
And we've done some research. We watched a couple interviews. I don't like to know too much. I want to be more curious. But we kind of pride ourselves on bringing the most out of people and bringing, that vulnerability, especially as a man, because that's what we do.
Yes, sir.
And we've just had so many times where people are like, I don't think I've ever talked about this before. I've never told this story before. And once I saw that, I would love for this to be the platform where we get that other 75%.
Yeah, let's run it.
I want to start off with, upbringing. You've mentioned that, not bad, right? And then maybe you went left when you should have went right.
Yeah.
So I want to start there, where I guess where that initial time period in your life where you realize like, fuck, I'm going down the wrong path.
Yeah. So at 13, going into my freshman year in high school, I went to my first party. And to that time, I had not drank or used drugs. Mm-hmm. At that party, I drank vodka, ate mushrooms, and smoked weed. So that was my introduction to partying.
And it's always vodka too, right? For some reason. Everyone starts with vodka.
Not sure why. And it was disgusting vodka. I was like, pop off.
Rubbing alcohol.
By the end of the night, I was eating salsa mix Crispix. And you're like, what the fuck is that? Because it doesn't exist. Yeah. I put Crispix, the cereal, in a bowl, and I dumped salsa on top, and I was just eating salsa and Crispix. And I remember one of the kids said, brother, you're going to throw up, and it's going to be absolutely disgusting. Well, little did he know or I know that I never actually threw up from drinking or using drugs my entire life. Wow. And I funneled handles of Bacardi 151, like just the most savage shit ever. I just don't have the throw up vibe. I've pissed the bed hundreds of times, right? Like one summer, 30 times. And so I had that party experience, and I did okay for that, first year in high school, didn't really get in a lot of trouble. And then right when I turned 15, shit started to go downhill. I had a snow day with my friends, so like school's canceled, everyone goes sledding, they come over to my house, they're all drinking. I wait to drink. And I put a Gatorade bottle full of Bacardi 151. So I lock up the house, put the alarm on, get in the sled. I'm sober. Everyone else is drunk. And I'm like, man, I want to catch up to everybody. So I drink half of the bottle. And I'm like, man, I don't feel anything yet. Like a little warm and tingly, but I'm not feeling drunk. And everyone's like, my friends are tackling the girls, and the girls are throwing snow at them. And it's like a fun time. I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I just finished the rest of that bottle. And a Gatorade bottle full of Bacardi 151 is like almost a fifth. It's like 3/4 of a fifth. Yeah. I remember I'm 15 at the time. Dude, I black out so quick. I end up pissing myself for the very first time at my friend's house. My buddies dragged me home. My parents think that I like have been doing some crazy drugs, something wild because of like how fucked up I was. Yeah. And I wake up the next day and I go to school and I'm shit faced like that next day at school. And I actually remember at that point in my life thinking like, this is not good, but it's probably just like a normal experience. Mm-hmm. Fast forward a little bit. I was still a responsible kid despite the drugs and alcohol. I was very mature. My dad taught me how to be social at an early age. I could control a conversation. And so they left me home alone for a week, and they went out on a skiing trip with, some other family friends and my sister. Well, that week at 15, I didn't even have a learning permit yet. I wasn't even like able to drive. I took my dad's car every single day to school. Right. And he had a V8 Audi, and I was like just whipping it everywhere, doing donuts. We went out to a party at my buddy's house, like 30 minutes out in the country. I packed the car full of all my friends. I wasn't inebriated at the time, but I was doing 80 down a dirt road, hit some black guys, spun the car around 3 times, totaled the car, right? With 5 people inside. And so we get back to we're down the street from my parents' house. He pulls me out with a tractor. Super redneck shit, right? Pulls the car out.
Where are we? I'm just curious.
In Vermont.
Okay. I've been to Stratton once. I've been to Stratton
Vermont.
once. Yeah.
So he pulls the car out and he's like, bro, this isn't good. Like the car wasn't crunched, but like the way that the damage was on the side, it was just not going to be drivable after that. And so I'm like, oh God, this is not good. He's like, so do you have your license? And I'm like, no, brother, I'm 15, like, he's like, oh God, we got to call your parents. And I just remember that was like the very first time I was in trouble. And that was a series of so many phone calls, right? Yeah. Like I end up getting a DUI maybe a couple months later. I get my first assault charge, shortly after that. And then I get recruited to play hockey at Phillips Exeter, which is a #1 academic high school in America. And so my parents were like, all right, man, we'll turn it around. You know what I mean? So I go there, I have an excellent football season. I have an excellent, hockey season. One thing that I've never actually told anyone either. Okay, so I show up to Exeter, this prep school, right? I got recruited to play hockey, but the football coach also saw my tapes. So he's like, all right, yeah, come play football. I was supposed to play quarterback. 3 days before going to school, I got in a fight with a kid and I broke his orbital bone in his face, but I also broke my knuckle, right? I got a boxer's fracture in my hand. And so I was like, man, my hand really hurts, but whatever. I just show up to Exeter and I'm like, man, I'm having a hard time squeezing the ball. And the coach is like, dude, what the fuck is going on with your hand? Like, you got to go see the trainer. The trainer's like, man, we got to go get x-rays. So anyway, we go get x-rays. Like, yeah, your hand's broken. So, I put a cast on. So now I'm at Exeter with a cast on. I can't play quarterback. My parents are pissed. The coach is pissed. And he's like, well, you think you could play defensive back? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm an athlete for sure. So I ended up playing defensive back, starting at defensive back that whole season with a cast on my hand. I got a lot of sympathy from the girls with the cast on my hand. It was a great time.
Pretty cool.
And the craziest thing about that was, to that point, I had never actually done coke. Right? I had done, I knew what Adderall was and I had done all the other recreational drugs. But very early on at Exeter, I remember that I was walking to class and these 2 girls said to me like, hey, do you want some Adderall before class? And I was like, yeah, fuck it. They're like, all right, we'll come up to the dorm room. So I go up and they're blowing coke. And I was like, white girls? Like rich ass white girls blowing coke before class?
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
I thought, I just assumed it was like a hood thing, I watched a lot of rap videos, sure. Yeah. So that like really sparked the next level for me. It was like, doing coke in prep school. I get kicked out of prep school. I come back home. I get a second DUI. I get a second assault charge. And I can't play sports anymore because I repeated my junior year at prep school. And in public high school, you only get 4 years of eligibility. In prep school, you get 5 years so that you can go a little later.
Post-grad year.
Right.
Yeah.
So I go back to my public high school. I have to graduate with the class below me and I can't play sports. I'm a recruited, already signed D1 hockey player, which I lost my rights to play hockey as well. They were like, hey, since you got kicked out of Exeter, go play juniors for a year and we'll see if you have a good season and then we'll still move forward with everything. So I go back home. I can't play high school sports. And I'm at University of Vermont. One of my best friends was going to school there, and I'm just hanging out, smoking some weed. And he moves a lot of weed. He always, since we were kids, he was just the biggest weed dealer. Yeah. And he goes, yo, I just got a new roommate, second semester. I just got a new roommate, this kid from Connecticut. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, why is he here? He's like, oh, I think he was actually playing hockey somewhere and he got kicked out of school and now he's coming to University of Vermont. I was like, oh, interesting. What's his name? He's like, Will. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go up to his room. I'm there and the kid walks in. I'm like, yo, Hutch, like you're living with him now? And he's like, yeah, man. Yeah, this is I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I just got kicked out. And this was my homeboy that I played all-star hockey with since I was like 10. Lived in Greenwich, Connecticut. I've known him. I've stayed at his house. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, man, I just got kicked out of Exeter, bro. Like I'm going to play, junior hockey. But he's like, do you want to pick up some coke and we'll just sell it? And I'm like, where? And he was like, well, we got to go to New York City. And I'm like, okay. So here we are going to New York City. Dude, at this time of my life, I'm wearing double pink and yellow pastel polo popped collars, pastel shorts, prep school shit.
Sperry's?
Right? Actually, I was as preppy as you could be with a gangster lean.
Okay.
I never subscribed to that shit. I wore Air Force Ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Air Force Ones and flat rims, but still pastel polo. The two of us showing up in Harlem, Not a good idea, bro. But we did it every week. Every other week, we would go in, I pick a Coke, I would come back and sell it. I was like, this is amazing, dude. I'm going to have a new car in no time. I'm going to get rims. Like, I'm going to buy as much shit as I want. My parents had no idea what was going on. So I hustled Coke for, about 5-6 months. So at the end of this, I just finish and I get a phone call on the house phone, right? There used to be a thing, a house phone, right? I'm sitting in the basement watching MTV Jams, Young Jeezy, MTV Jams, the snowman, right? So much white, it'll hurt your eyes. And I'm just idolizing this shit, right? And it's my lawyer who's defended me in my 2 DUIs, my 2 assault charges. He's got me off and he goes, hey man, this kid just got pulled over. They found Coke in the car. He ratted you out. He let him know that it was you. He's like, you gotta stop selling Coke. I'm like, bro, I've been out of the game for like 3 months. And I'll never forget. He goes, yeah, that kid kept a bag for 3 months. Yeah, right. He's like, brother, come on. Like, you gotta stop. And I'm like, no, I swear, Paul, I'm done. Like, I just finished. And literally the week before that, I said it was gonna be my last time. And so I was actually out. I go upstairs. My dad's holding the other house phone. And he was like, oh, it was such a sad day. I still get emotional thinking about it. And he was like, pack up all your shit and get the fuck out. And I was like, oh God. So I go and live with the older kids, right? I'm 19 at the time. Now I'm living with some 23, 24-year-old kids. Oh, by the way, I just got kicked off my junior hockey team for fighting. So kicked out of Exeter, 2 DUIs, 2 assault charges. My parents find out that I'm selling Coke. I'm not having a good run, right? Yeah. Okay, kicked off my junior team. I'm like, what am I gonna do with my life, man? I squandered this. Like, I was supposed to play D1 hockey. So when I move in with my buddies, they're like, brother, you're still disgusting at football. Like, go to Boston College football camp this summer. So it was like May, my parents kicked me out. They're like, this happens in July. I'm like, all right. I save $500, go to Boston College football camp. They're like, brother, if you do well enough, they put a red dot on your card. You can go to the scout day, the last day. You might get recruited. I'm like, all right. So I throw routes every single day with my buddy for 2 months. I go to Boston College football camp. I'm in like the best shape of my life. And I make it to the red dot day. And there's a Bentley College coach there, D2 school in Massachusetts. Yeah. He comes to me at the end and he goes, man, I really like your stuff. What's your story? And I'm like, bro, not good.
Where do you want me to start?
I'm like, dude, honestly, man, like because you're going to find all this out. Like, I just got kicked out of Phillips Exeter. And he goes, I got kicked out of Phillips Andover when I was a kid, the rival school. And I was like, all right. He's like, everyone deserves a second chance. How are your grades? I'm like, 4.0, bro. I got amazing. How are your SATs? Amazing. He's like, listen, usually we recruit for the following year. This is July. School starts in September, August. We're recruiting for next year. But our quarterback recruit dropped out. I need somebody in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, all right, man, like, you think you can get me in? He's like, yeah, let's do the application, get you in. Boom. So dude, within a week, I'm accepted to Bentley and I'm leaving in 2 weeks to go, right? Like a rushed expedited delivery. And my parents like, whoa, good job. You went from like a complete fuck up to, wow, you got into Bentley. So I go to Bentley. I play football. I didn't start, the starters were older, but had a great season, got some reps in, finished the season. And after the last game, drinking and blowing Coke and some kids talking shit. I'm like, dude, you don't want to talk shit to me. I know I'm not like the biggest looking kid. This kid was huge. I'm like, but brother, I promise you, I've been in so many street fights and hockey fights. Like, just don't say it again. And he kept going and I hit him twice really hard and fast. And I hit him in the temple and he immediately knocked out. But I didn't know because it happened so fast. And I hit him here and then I uppercut him with the left and it hit his chin. He was standing by a door jamb and it snapped his head back so hard that it split his head open.
Oh my God.
Dude, he then fell onto his knees and his whole body went limp so that from his knees down, his face smoked the floor, broke his nose, chipped his teeth, blood everywhere. And dude, the back of his head was cracked open, pool of blood. I'm like, holy fuck, I killed this kid. And dude, the girls that were all watching it were screaming, you killed him, you killed him. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, this is so bad. I literally run back into my room and lock the door and I'm just sitting there, sheer panic. Like my life is over. I just killed this kid. So the cops come, the school people come, and the cops come, like a lot of questions, this and that. And then I just told them what happened. The kid gets rushed to the hospital. They put 47 staples in the back of his head. God. He ends up surviving.
Thank God.
In Massachusetts, you have to press charges. They're not gonna there's no civil charges. Like he has to press criminal charges on me. And I guess he couldn't recall the events because he was so fucked up. So he didn't end up pressing charges by the grace of God. Okay. So now I'm about to get kicked out of school, right? I have my hearing, like I know this is gonna happen. I say to my buddy, hey, your mom's, on like the dean, the admin of the school, whatever. Can she like vouch for me? My football coach, I'm like, yo, can you vouch for me? And then I get one other teacher to vouch for me. So if I get 3 vouchers, I might have a chance at staying in school, right? So I get all 3 vouchers. I'm going into this and I'm like, I think I might be able to actually stay. Like they might give me a second chance. My drinking was so bad that during that 2 weeks before my hearing, I was found on video in the school store at 3 a.m. after we went out one night in a Michael Jordan high school Laney jersey, tucked it into my mesh shorts, and I'm leaning over the school store counter grabbing chicken salad sandwiches and going like this and just tossing 11 sandwiches down my shirt and then walking out. And I get to this little court hearing and they're sitting at a table and there's this little like 8-inch TV monitor sitting right there. And I remember walking in and I'm thinking, I didn't even remember that this happened. And I walk in, I'm like, that's fucking strange. Why do I have a little TV monitor? I'm like, Mr. Houston, thank you for coming. We were prepared to let you stay in school until we saw this. And he like clicks the little thing and it's just me on a recorded thing. And I'm like, that's not me. Right away, I said, that's not me. And then I look up and you can actually literally see directly like my face on camera. And they're like, that is. And they're like, yep, see you later. You're kicked out. I'm like, oh man. And they're like, you can't come back for a year. So I go back home. I mean, these just go on for days, but I end up going back to school.
Same school?
To Bentley for a TI concert 6 months later.
Oh my God.
And my friends get me Hypnotic and Hennessy, Incredible Hulk.
Incredible.
And they're like, bro, you're back. Good to see you. Have some Incredible Hulk. I think I have 4 glasses in that. And bro, that shit puts you in like a strange place, And I'm fucked up, dude. And I have a really high tolerance, but I was just messed up that day. So I'm at the TI concert. We're front row. And the officer that processed my case for hitting the kid in the head sees me, a woman sees me and points me out. He can't be here. And dude, the cops chase me. I go all the way through the woods, like all the way through the entire athletic complex, through the baseball field, through the woods, all the way. I make it to the street. And then all of a sudden I just get yoked from behind by a cop. Just
oh my God.
Knee in the face,
taken
to the slammer. My parents still to this day don't even know that this portion happened. And I came back home and I remember, so long story short, it wasn't until then that I thought to myself, maybe I got a little bit of a problem, right?
Yeah.
Now, at any point during this, because I had a conversation with one of our old co-hosts who is going down the Christian route now, like wants to go full in on that. And he said the reason he just stopped drinking, not that he didn't have a problem, didn't have any of this, but he's like, yo, I just feel like I've ran out of God's grace. Where he was like, I've had so many instances, driving drunk, unprotected sex, stupid life-threatening situations, in a car with someone driving, like all these things. It gets to a point where like, bro, your luck is going to run out.
Yeah.
You're only given so much grace. And he was just like, I just feel like one more time. Was there ever a point like during this where you didn't feel invincible, or it just seems
never?
Wow.
Bro, it continued.
Yeah.
I got back home. I had to go to community college. I end up getting a job at a bank, at a commercial loan division, being a controller. I end up moving up within 3 months. The manager got fired. They end up promoting me to manager. At 20 years old, after all the bullshit that had happened, I get my 3rd DUI. I get my 3rd assault charge. I'm managing a commercial loan division at a bank and going to community college. But dude, I feel invincible. And it got way worse.
Did you keep winning somehow?
Dude, somehow I always was able to get back to this position. My lawyer was such a savage, I end up getting off on that 3rd DUI, right? That actually got, crazy shit happened, I'll tell you. But that actually got drawn out like a year, that case. He kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So at that time, I decided, hey, I got to stop drinking. Like he told me, he was like, brother, do not drink another sip of alcohol until I can figure out what's going on with your court cases. But he said, listen, if you get in one more piece of trouble again, I'm not defending you. Not from a legal standpoint, but just like as a friend, like, and I know your parents, like I'm not going to defend you. So I'm like, all right. So I stopped drinking. I end up playing poker for Oxycontin. So we play a poker game and the winner gets Oxycontin. I win the game. I try the Oxycontin and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, you only need one hit.
Okay, so everybody responds to downers differently or all drugs differently, but most like heroin and Oxycontin, it makes people tired and like very chill and relaxed. Unless you have brain on fire or like ADHD like I have, like I'm just a natural born crackhead. It made me feel like Bradley Cooper in Limitless. Yeah. Alert, awake, focused as shit, incredibly aware. And it had the same reaction with 2 of my friends. Okay. And so we started doing this and we started like reading financial charts. We started like thinking about business. My buddy's dad gave him a couple apartments while he was gone in St. Bart's and said, hey, fix these up and rent these out. We fixed them up really nice and then rented them out for cash up front to 3 drug dealers in our town. So we're just like always thinking about how to, you know, just make money, hustle.
Run it up.
Yeah.
So our drug addiction is getting bad at this point. Now we're doing like 2 Oxycontin 80s per day.
And you're
which
functional.
Is functional. And this is way too much, dude. 2 Oxycontin 80s is like a normal person might blow like a tenth or a quarter of an Oxycontin 80, right? Yeah. We're doing 2 full beans per day. And we're like, yo, we got to start like, this is getting expensive. We got to figure out a way to, so we recruit a girl in Texas. The girl had like, I guess a couple grandparents that were getting multiple prescriptions of this. She would send us 500 Oxycontin 80s in the mail every single week. And what we would have her do is go get the Halloween size bag of Skittles, have her weigh that bag of Skittles, take off the little orange price tag, cut open a tiny little slit, squeeze out the same amount of Skittles that would weigh 500 Oxycontin 80s. The 80s were much smaller than, not much smaller, but lighter than a Skittle. She would squeeze out like 150 and then put in the 500 80s, reweigh it, make sure it was the same weight. And then I would make her write birthday cards, happy birthday, and like actually write this shit. And the only reason I had ever thought of that is because in that movie Blow, he's like, whose clothes are going to be in the suitcase? He's like, fuck is this guy talking about clothes? He's like, no, I want to know. This is important. These are the details that you have to know. Yeah. And so I was always thinking like this. So we would receive these packages. Now, 5 months into this, my friend's dad, who owned one of the largest coffee companies in America, he ends up selling the company and my buddy gets a check for almost 100 M's. Bro, at 23 years old. And so, dude, this just fueled even crazier because now he's like, yeah, just buy as much drugs as you can, you know, from this girl. And like it fueled our whole thing, right? Yeah. Like it just got crazy. So we're now in with a bunch of bad people. We got drug dealers living in these apartments. He's flush with cash. Like everything just... I'm still at the bank. Like things are still at the bank. Like, dude, things are seemingly going really well-ish, right? Until we get pulled over by some undercovers at like 6 a.m. Right? So we get pulled over. Guy knocks on the car door. He knocks on the door, and the kid in the front seat was a real dirtbag. He was the heroin dealer. Like I never liked this kid anyway. I'm sitting in the back seat. The cop comes to the door. He door checks the cop to the ground and takes off running, right? So he's taking off running through this like center green. Guy goes after him. There's no one else behind us yet. We have 580s in the middle and it's duct taped, right? We had taken it out of the Skittles, put in another package, but it's duct taped. My buddy in the front seat takes it and throws it across one street and it goes into this parking lot and under these bushes. That parking lot was a building that his dad owned. One of those buildings that I was telling you about. Dude, it goes under those bushes. The next cop car comes and they're like, yo, we know you have drugs on us. They like search the car. Like, you know, we don't got shit, man. We have nothing. They can't find anything. They eventually apprehend this other kid. Yeah. We don't see him come back. I don't know where that cop went with him, but they start questioning us. And they're like, they knew everything about us. Wade Houston, we know that you just got your 3rd DUI. Brandon, we know that this, and this. We know who your girlfriend are. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys fucking know everything about us. And they're like, listen, we need you to wear a wire and do a deal on that heroin dealer kid, this kid, Robert. And I'm like, I just remember I was such a punk at the time. I said, fuck you know who my lawyer is? And the cop was just like... And because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, bro, you're not going to... First off, I'm not fucking ratting on anybody. But secondly, I got nothing to worry about. I've sold enough drugs to make enough money to pay for this lawyer. And I got the best fucking lawyer in all of Vermont, right? So Anyway, long story short, we find out that they had brought in a task force agency from Boston.
Oh my
Officer
God.
Fish, this guy that wanted us to fucking, probably wasn't his real name, but that's what he told us it was, that wanted us to snitch. Okay, so now we know that they're onto us. We got to stop the shipments from Texas, right? We're dude, this is going to get way too sketchy. We got to figure out like a local way to do it. But dude, as we start doing it, the town's like starting to dry up a little bit. And we can't get enough for our own addictions. We're each at this point doing 5 Oxycontin 80s per day. Bro, it's gotten so out of hand. So I'm trying to get this shit and I'm not getting everything that I need. We start robbing kids at gunpoint. We just start setting kids up. So now you look at this and you say, I came from a lovely, wonderful family with ethics and morals and going to church and prep school and good grades and recruited and all this shit. And here I am robbing kids at gunpoint, right? The following week after setting up multiple kids and robbing them, I get robbed. Someone gets back at me. My gun fell out. They took the gun, stuck me up. I had nothing else left. That was like my last $800 at that point because we were in a bad place. The next morning I woke up on my back and I'm like, I felt like my bones were breaking. It literally felt like everything was about to fall apart. Yeah. I called my parents. I'm like, hey, I'm super addicted to Oxycontin. I need to go to rehab. And like, oh my God, we've been wondering what's been going on for you with the last year. We thought you were just smoking entirely too much weed. You've been like a zombie. I'm like, yeah, no, this is what it is. They're like, well, thank God that we know. So like, all right, we got you into this rehab, but you got to wait 5 days. Dude, when you're coming off of 5 Oxycontin 80s, the withdrawals are so insane, bro. You can't eat. You're sweating. You're freezing. You feel like you're gonna throw up, but you can't throw up. Your bones feel like they're breaking. It's like the worst pain. I had to do that by myself in my parents' basement. No come down. No extracurriculars. No Suboxone. No methadone. Or nothing. Just me and Advil in the basement drinking Campbell's chicken noodle soup. Horrible 5 days. I go to rehab. A week later, one of my buddies who threw the beans across the bush, he ends up in rehab. I end up getting into rehab. I'm like, all right, I'm done drinking. I gotta go through my 3rd DUI proceedings. I'm done doing pain pills. I'm gonna actually try and stay clean. My other buddy 2 months later goes out to LA to rehab, and like everything seems to be falling apart-ish, right? Like in the best way possible. I end up getting back into the University of Vermont. After like a year, I clean up, I get back to the University of Vermont, I get a job as an accountant. So here we are again. Like, all right, now we're doing good again, bro.
You keep catching a W somehow. So I can only imagine in your head, you're just like, yeah, I could just keep doing this.
I'm just too smart. Superman. In my head, I'm like, I'm just too smart, bro. I can learn anything so fast, you know? I just learn things fast. So I'm doing this and I start wakeboarding. I learn how to wakeboard and I learn how to do a flip. And when I learned how to do a flip, you start going bigger and bigger and bigger. And sometimes you catch an edge and just smoke your neck. And I did it so many times, dude, that I had started having massive neck issues. And I didn't know what to do at the time. Like I didn't see a chiropractor. I didn't see a therapist. Like, I didn't know what to do. All I knew was my neck was hurting so bad. I went to the doctor and he was like, here's some Perk 30s. And I was like, listen, brother, I'm a real addict. Like, please don't prescribe me this. He's like, I don't see any other thing that we can do. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to do this bottle, but like, I want you to know I'm an addict. So like, if I come back and ask for more, like, please, I'm really trying to clean up my life. So he prescribes me the bottle. I do the Perk 30s in a week. It was a month prescription. And I'm like, oh, I got to get more now. So now, I think this is like my 7th year in college at this point, just still trying to get my undergrad, right? And I got the younger kids in school who are selling Perk 30s and all the drugs. I start going from my accounting job, suit and tie, all professional, going from there to, I would go from finance class to there, and then I would go back and I would buy Perk 30s from them. And these kids are smoking Perk 30s off the tinfoil. So bro, now I'm going and it starts progressing. So I start going from my accounting job to lunch break, driving to this college house up in the top floor, smoking Perk 30s and going back to my accounting job. It's like, but
the cycle's back.
But it cycles back. But I seemed like I thought I was like functioning fine again. I end up quitting that. And dude, but this whole run, I never ever thought that I should stop. And it continued from there too. I then became a financial advisor, and then I would just do Molly, ketamine, Xanax, weed, come down to Miami, party all the time. I start making $500K per year, and my expenses are so low in Vermont. I just always felt invincible. I always felt like somehow I could do very little work and get away with it. It wasn't until I moved to Miami and hit rock bottom that for the first time ever, I was like, okay, I need to make some changes.
Going through all that, what does rock bottom look like? Because it feels like I watch a lot of people talk about hitting rock bottom and it's never really rock bottom. Something has to happen and then you're like, oh shit, I'm at rock bottom. What does that look like after going through all of that?
You would think that kicked out of prep school, kicked out of college, 3 DUIs, 3 assault charges, almost indicted on drug charges, my parents finding out that I was selling coke, kicked off junior teams, losing my rights to play pro hockey, no relationship with my family, no more friends, that at some point I would have hit rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
You would think the judicial and social consequences would have been enough. They weren't. My rock bottom looked like complete emptiness. I woke up after being drugged and robbed on my back right over near Flamingo Park on Miami Beach. And I just felt this horrible hole in my heart. And I heard, for the first time ever, I actually heard God say, whatever was in the sky, say, there is more for you in this life. And I just remember thinking like, wow, there is. Like, I have a problem. I have a serious problem. And this is the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. And I remember I called my dad and I told him, hey man, I just got robbed. The watch got stolen. The jewelry got stolen. And I'll never forget. He goes, I don't give a fuck about no watch or no jewelry. He's like, but the way that I see it, you got 2 options. Either you go to AA, you actually do the 12 steps, and you may have a real chance at living life, or you bounce in and out of AA for the rest of your life and you just continue to be a fucking loser. And it was so clear to me at that moment in time that I needed help. That I just felt like, wow, I have no relationship with my parents. I feel so empty. I don't even really have any friends. I was $100K in credit card debt. I was selling cars, right? And so everything in my life was going backward at that time. And for the first time, it wasn't like this, oh yeah, I'm still getting by. It was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And dude, I just got lucky that I was so desperate. I was so humbled that I just surrendered. Right? They talk about this in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like, I just admitted defeat. And I said, you know what? I don't know what's best for my life. I'm going to do what these people in AA told me. And I did. That was it.
And AA is in Miami, or did you wind up going
Everywhere.
back home?
So interesting question. AA is all around the world.
Yeah.
But I said to my dad, I was like, hey man, I think I'm going to move back home. And he was like, I don't think your problem is where you live. I think your problem is you. And I was like, damn. He's right.
You got a good dad.
Really good. I'm so blessed,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you as well, because I think sometimes, like I talk about it a lot, like when we let other people down sometimes, friends, maybe other family members, it doesn't feel good, but like we kind of like, I'm not perfect, right? We justify our actions sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the 2 times where like it really hits the most is when, 1, we let ourselves down. And then 2, when you let your own father down.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 times where like as a young man, you like look in the mirror, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Totally.
And yeah, dude, I mean, thank God for your dad too.
Yeah.
Because like there's a very strong possibility for you to not be sitting here right now if maybe that conversation didn't happen when it did.
Totally.
I can only imagine how hard it was to call him too, because I feel like you called him a bunch before that, but this was the combo like that.
Yeah, and there had been, I hadn't really talked to him that much in Miami. I was like partying a lot.
Yeah, you're trying to escape. You don't want to face. That's like facing what you got going on is calling your pops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's what Steve Harvey said this like on the Pivot, and how he said how everybody wants you to do well, but never better than them. And the only person in a man's life that actually wants a better life for him is your father.
Yeah.
It's the only person that we'll ever have in our entire life that wants to see us be more successful than they are.
Totally.
And I mean, dude, yeah, you're blessed. I have a great dad as well, and John's relationship with his father is rocky.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm trying to tell him, that like,
Yeah.
it's not worth it for it to be rocky.
The craziest thing was I have no grandparents. My dad's side of the family has, alcoholism running rampant. Both of my parents' side. My parents, I never seen my dad have more than 2 beers. My mom, like maybe a pina colada on vacation. They just don't drink. But their parents had lots of issues, and they're all passed at this point. And my dad actually like kind of raise his sisters and his brother who died from a drug overdose. And so, you know, he just had, and his mom would be like drunk at parties, you know, he would come home. And so all he wanted was to raise kids that weren't like that, right? Like that was his whole goal. And then here I am, like, you know, right back in the pattern. So for him, it was just so difficult. But I'm so blessed today because about a year ago, he says to me, you know, all I ever wanted was to have a relationship with you as my son. And today I have a relationship not only as my son, but as my friend and as a mentor, like as a leader. And it's like, dude, holy shit, what a feeling that I'm his friend and that I've been able to guide him in business, in his relationship with my mom, in his mindset, in his health, in his fitness, in his nutrition. Like I've overcome so much and become such an optimal person in so many domains. He didn't believe me when I told him, but he started to see it as I progressed in his life. And then he was like, I want what you have. And he started coming to me for advice. And that's been just the greatest feeling of all time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I want to because throughout all this, I mean, we always talk about how just like life experience teaches you the most. And I could tell you're very knowledgeable, very well versed across everything because you've lived both sides of it, right? Like you've done the corporate successful business stuff, but you've also been the successful guy in that world. And I do see a translation. To be able to run it up and live the way you did doing those things, that same mindset and work ethic works well when you're doing the right things. It's just sometimes it's hard to, you know, bring that side of it over because of how fast that lifestyle is.
Yeah, right.
Now, with all this life experience, like obviously addiction was your problem.
Yes.
What do you think the most misunderstood thing is about addiction after going through recovery and now, you know, not dealing with that anymore?
As an addict or an alcoholic, you don't have a problem with drugs or alcohol. You have a problem with your mind, and your solution to your mind is drugs and alcohol. The manifestation of the inadequacy in your mind can manifest itself in different ways. For me, it was anxiety. It was my mind moving so fast that I always felt so different from other people. I just wanted to quiet my mind. Some people feel inadequate or less than or not enough. I never honestly really felt those things, but this anxiety and this manic state of mind is why I really started loving weed and Xanax. That was really my initial, you know, weed and Xanax have been pretty consistent from 13 to 31, just to put me in a position where I'm like, okay, I can handle life without beating the fuck out of somebody, without blowing up on people, without screaming at a teacher, you know, and so it worked. Drugs and alcohol were actually my solution for a long period of time. As an alcoholic and an addict, I can't handle life on life's terms without some substance to put me in a sedated state. Now, when you remove drugs and alcohol from an addict, they're in a worse state than with the drugs and alcohol. Even when the drugs and alcohol stop working, which eventually they always do, you're in a position now where you're raw. You feel your emotions. You don't know how to process them. You don't know how to handle them. You're an asshole to other people. You live in a way that's just destructive. And I bounced in and out of AA for many years with this destructive behavior, but it wasn't until I surrendered completely and said, yes, I'm going to do the 12 steps that I realized this thing. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous has nothing to do with the removal of drugs and alcohol. That's the prerequisite. Hey, I'm going to stop drinking. But the work begins when you enter the rooms and you start doing work with a sponsor one-on-one. And that work is entirely looking at your ego, at your character defects, at your inadequacies, at what makes you tick, at why you use drugs and alcohol. And when you can start to understand these things, then you have to make some really difficult, hard changes in your life. Alcoholics Anonymous is literally just a program that helps you experience an entire psychic change by developing a relationship with God. That's all it is. But by doing so, you can overcome any issue. It's the greatest program of personal development outside of the Bible that exists. And once I realized this, I said, wow, I can apply these same principles to every area of my life, my fitness, my nutrition, you know, my health, my communication, the way I treat other people. And so that the misconception is that it's, you know, really about the substance when it's actually about changing the mind so that you can be void of drugs and alcohol and live a happy, productive life.
Do you think addicts, do you think it's like genetic? Because like you said, it came from family, right? Obviously not your parents, but everyone else around. So it's in the bloodline somewhere, whether it's something with the brain or just something. I've also heard people talk a lot about if you don't release like your past traumas and addictions and stuff like that, it carries through your bloodline until the next generation.
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a prerequisite for an addict from their family, or do you think you have to just be exposed to it and kind of just fall into it on your own?
My personal opinion is that you have some genetic makeup that gives you an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Like, okay, at 6 years old, I was on a cruise with my family, and I would go to the buffet at the cruise and I would load up 2 plates, chicken fingers and cheeseburgers and French fries, right? And I would go back and I would eat a bite of each one, and I would literally leave the plate and go back to the buffet. Like 7 times. I would just always do this. And I started, when we would go to a restaurant, I would start ordering 2 meals and an appetizer. And my dad would always say, my entire life, he would always say, "We're not on a cruise anymore, bro." Always.
That's funny.
Right? But that was always my mindset. And eventually, just because I had a big appetite, I would eat everything. And I'd be like, "Yeah, Dad, but see, I'm eating everything." But that was just my tendency, was just more candy, more food. It was always more.
Nothing was enough.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, I want, this might be like a little long, but I want to give you your flowers, because my family on both sides, my mother and my father, I've seen a lot of addicts. I've seen a lot of people not make it through that battle. So first off the rip, you're a very smart dude. And I want to give you flowers that you're still here, because I've seen it personally not work out for a lot of people. Right.
Thanks,
but what
brother.
I do want to ask you is from an AA standpoint, we've spoken to a lot of addicts, especially when we spoke to Lilo. And Lilo, like, he's actor in The Bronx Tale, he doesn't think that he needs to be in AA for his whole life. Are you still in AA? Do you still go through that? And I also have seen you talk about how important your sponsor was to you, and I'd love to get into that too. And have you, second question, are you a sponsor to anybody else, and how does that make you feel? How fulfilled are you helping other people, if you are?
Yeah, so I went to an AA meeting every single day for a year and a half when I got sober. I went through the 12 steps. After 6 months, I finished the 12 steps and started sponsoring guys. And I had sponsors for the first 3 or 4 years of my sobriety. It's been 6.5 years since I've been sober now. There became a period of time where I started going to less AA meetings. And a lot of people will say, "Wow, that's a slippery slope. You got to be careful."
Yeah.
As an alcoholic and an addict, all you have is a daily reprieve, a break from alcohol based upon the condition of your spiritual program. Meaning each and every day I have to do some things to make sure that I have this clean relationship with God. As an alcoholic and an addict, if you're isolating and only praying to God, it can still put you in a position where you're not helping other people. You're not giving back to the program. You're not reminded of what it was like. And so that's why people say, don't fall out of the program. I started helping people online with mindset programs and helping a lot of people get sober through my programs. I started going to church, and eventually I started going to less meetings. I go sporadically.
Oh,
right?
so you don't need to go to meetings to still feel like you're doing something for yourself and for other people.
Yeah, no, I there is still an element of probably I should give back more, because going to the meetings doesn't do really that much for me, but it will do stuff for other people, right?
Yeah.
Because there were people that were there for me when I was there. And so it's actually a good reminder that I probably should start going back to meetings, you know, to be a little bit more selfless. I filled my life up with other areas of giving. And I don't mean just from work. But other areas where I give to people, you know, in certain charities and in my time. And I just started spending more time developing a relationship with God through church and serving there. And so I feel like I'm on very fit spiritual ground in terms of my progression there. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm not still regularly going to meetings or sponsoring people.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people might get a little bit intimidated when they hear like, oh, I got to go to AA and then I got to do it for the rest of my life. And they think that's like going to a meeting every day.
Yeah.
But with the conversations that I've had, you don't need to be in a meeting every day as long as you're doing the things, whatever that happens to be, to help yourself like you are. So I love that.
I will say, I think everybody's different.
Yeah, of course.
Every alcoholic and addict is a different person and has maybe a different level of addiction, you know, in their life. What I noticed is I would be at these meetings, and they always say, don't compare, just identify it to other people and don't compare. But I would get to this point in meetings where a lot of the same people were talking and still sharing the same things that they were struggling with 7, 10, 15, 20 years into sobriety. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, brother, you haven't elevated past this like dog shit level. Like, I just don't understand how. And in AA, they talk about like, okay, do the 12 steps, get a sponsor, have a relationship with God. But what they don't talk about is like the daily discipline of, yes, they talk about prayer and meditation, but like actually hydrating properly, going on a walk, exercising, eating proper nutrition, understanding stoicism, changing your mindset, getting to the next levels of meditation, like really creating a daily program that fosters personal growth so that you do insulate yourself from drugs and alcohol. And so once I sort of insulated myself on a daily basis, remember, I don't think I'm cured from drugs and alcohol, but I wake up at the same time every day and I pray and I meditate and I go on a walk and I hydrate and I eat proper and I, you know, I do these things that put me in a position to stay sober. And so I feel like I'm almost still doing AA sort of on steroids, but outside of the program.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I work with a podcast, Zach Clark. I don't know if you ever heard of him, Release Recovery. He won the Bachelorette years ago, but he was,
nice.
you know, and then did heroin, crack, you name it, whatever, addict for 13 years, been sober for 13 years now, opened a recovery program, started a podcast where he shares these stories.
Wow.
And I've seen both sides of it because I've had so many conversations with him. And then also we spoke to Lilo Brancato for 2.5 hours and went down that rabbit hole as well.
Amazing app.
What Zach says, how sometimes like in AA, there's a lot of people where they don't want to step on toes. You don't want to say the wrong thing. Because people would say to him, because he goes, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I surrendered to the idea that I have a problem. He said that, like you said, is the first step.
Yes.
But why do you think there's like such a misconception where like, I can't call you an alcoholic. I can't call you a drug addict because some people get offended. But those are the people that maybe do stay in AA for 20 plus years, but they still have these awful habits because they just can't accept the fact I'm an addict. You know, even though I'm here, I'm working on it. Do you think that mindset of not surrendering, like I have a problem, is what holds some addicts back?
100%. You know, that's it. Until I surrendered, I bounced in and out of AA and I was like, man, I don't need this shit. I'm not going to do this. I could probably do it on my own. I will say, if somebody wants to be really successful, the number one thing that they should do is be offended by less shit. Just stop fucking complaining about everything or saying that other people are your problem or complaining this or that. If you just stopped complaining about everything and accepted accountability and responsibility for every single thing in your life's going to get better really fucking quick.
Yeah.
That's just like dropping your ego, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It amazes me how few, and I guess I had an ego forever as well. And look, ego manifests itself in different ways.
For sure.
And I still have an ego and I still utilize it for positive purpose and sometimes even for negative purposes. But for the most part, I understand how my ego manifests itself in a negative way, and I'm very aware of it. So when somebody gives me feedback, I'm like, dude, I welcome this.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on my journey in sobriety, and I remember I called my buddy and I was like, hey, dude, my company just failed. Let me get a job with you at Fisher Investments. And he's like, nah, dude, you hated that job. He was like, you know what I think you should do? I think you should just start working on yourself. And he hung up the phone. And I was like, working on myself? What the fuck, man? Like, I'm sober, I'm fit. Like, what are you talking about? That sparked my personal development. That's what actually sparked my journey. Instead of being like a little bitch about it, I was like, man, he's right. I probably should be more disciplined. Maybe I should be meditating every day. Maybe I should increase my prayer life. Maybe I should start reading books. And that was at the beginning of COVID. And that's what sparked my crazy journey in business, was just admitting I don't fucking know everything.
Yeah, and just being aware. You said it perfect. You said awareness is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the 4 agreements, you read the 4 agreements?
Yeah.
Don't take anything personal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think as men, that's one of our biggest things. And I have a problem with it, a lot. That's one of the things my dad tells me a lot, like you think you're always right, and even as men, sometimes we know we're wrong, but we can't let them know that we're wrong.
Yeah.
So I know I'm wrong, but I'm going to still make you believe that I'm right. And that holds us back. And we do it to ourselves. We self-sabotage in that way instead of just like, even if someone says something negative to you, there's some light you can take out of that and apply it. Because there's always a little bit of truth in anything, I think. Joke, something nasty, something positive. There's always a little bit of truth that as men, especially like young man trying to still figure all my shit out, I wish I just listened more and stop always trying to rebuttal everything and just like take it all in.
It's a major key that I teach in my program. And I always tell them this. I say, guys, if you want to be the biggest baller of all time, and I know the biggest ballers because I have multiple mentors that are billionaires.
Yeah.
I say, when somebody's talking about a subject and you know substantially more about that subject than them, refrain from telling them what you know. Do not correct them. Mm-hmm. Do not add. Do not go on a monologue. Ask more questions to understand what they know. And they're like, but dude, what do you mean? They're just going to let people be wrong? I said, listen, I know a guy that's worth $7 billion. He's 55 years old. He's the biggest stud of all time, self-made. And when I meet up with him, he asks me questions about things that he knows 10 times more about than I do. And I always say, Mark, bro, you have more experience, like personal experience with this thing that you're asking me about. Why are you asking me? And he goes, maybe you've uncovered some new information that I haven't heard before.
Always learning.
Maybe there's been some new developments. Maybe you have a perspective that I didn't consider before. Maybe you'll repeat something that I knew but wasn't in the forefront of my mind that puts me in a position to take action on that information that you gave me. And I'm always like, damn, dude, Mark's that's why he's worth 7 Bs,
Yeah, the most successful people usually are the most curious.
Yeah.
And like I've heard them say that about Donald Trump. He said he asked everyone around him, what do you think of this? He'll ask Dana White. He'll ask the freaking Nelk boys on the, what do you guys think of this? Just to gain, because maybe he can get it from a government official, but he can also get it from a big YouTuber and then a successful entrepreneur like Dana White. Gary Vee, same thing. Anytime Gary Vee is around people, we see him in the content, he's asking the everyday person, why do you do this? Don't you think that feeds so much of his ideas and the content? Because yeah, you guys aren't on the same level, but he can now, whatever you said, take it and apply it to his life, which is going to be on a bigger scale, but it's because he was curious.
Exactly.
It's so important, man.
It's so important.
I teach this in sales process as well. It is, guys, the biggest mistake that you make as salespeople is pitching too early because you didn't understand the full picture, which goes back to one thing. You were not curious enough about the person with whom you are speaking to fully understand their problem. You just wanted to pitch and shove the shit down their throat. But what you failed to realize was that the way that you pitched it didn't meet the problem that they had because you weren't curious enough to find out what that really looked like.
Yeah, that's
good. It's like a girl in a relationship. You think you know them until you are in every situation with them. You ask them all the questions. You spend time. You're around family. You're on vacation. You guys have a fight, right? You have to be curious to everything, and then you find out who they really are.
Yeah.
But then you know how you need to treat her to keep her. But I think, in relationships, we just, as men, sometimes we think we know them, or we think, and until shit hits the fan, or until a pressure situation, you didn't even really know them.
Yeah.
I always tell all my clients this as well. They're like, but bro, how are you so good with women? I say, it's because I always get the real objection, which is the same thing in sales, which is the same thing. You walk into a bar and you ask a girl for her number and she gives you her number. And then you're like, hey, what are you doing next? And she's like, oh, I can't hang out tonight. And you're just like, oh, okay, no problem. You take it at face value, you leave. And you're like, oh yeah, because I got her number, I'll text her. But I will go into that conversation, get her information and be like, what are you doing next? She'll be like, oh no, I can't hang out. And I'll be like, oh, what are you here with your friends? Oh yeah, I'm here with my friends. It's my friend's birthday. We're going to this club next. Oh, no way. Me and my friends are going to that club as well. We should all go there together. You didn't know that because you didn't ask, but I did. Mm-hmm. But on the other end, if I say, oh yeah, what are you doing after this? And she's like, Well, I have an early morning. Next morning, I have a modeling shoot, so I have to go to bed early. That's a real objection. And now I'm going to handle that situation differently, but I'm going to follow up in a different way. And since I have that information, now I have a reason to follow up. Hey, how'd your modeling shoot go?
Yeah.
So I'm always in a position of power because I fully understood where you just walked away and took it at face value that she couldn't hang out that night.
Yeah.
But I found the real objection, and that's what helped me move the ball down the line.
Kind of like we said when we were coming up in the elevator, there's always a way.
Right.
There's always a way. We figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, too many people stop once they don't hear exactly what they want to hear. All right.
And then that's it, right?
And you don't even know what could come out of that situation if you're just a little curious and try to figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I want to ask you? After everything that you've been through, right? Because you've been through a lot. Would you change anything?
No.
Because I feel like it's made you who you are today. Right? I feel like you're so good at what you do, helping other people, because you didn't help yourself for so long and then had to learn to help yourself, right?
There are times where I wish that I had gotten it a little bit earlier because starting my life at 31, I'm like, man, I feel a little behind, you know, especially when my friends are super successful. And
I'm 31, bro. I feel the same way. I wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, you know, it's like, damn, like, and when I got sober, I had friends that were making 3 M's a year, you know, and they would always say to me like, bro, you're the smartest one out of all of us. You just fucked off for too many years, you know, but they built businesses, they built themselves, they built a family and they didn't get fucked up. And so there's times where I think that, but then I look back and I say, hey, you know what? That's me trying to run the show. This is God's plan. And I've fully accepted God's will. And today I'm actually really happy that I went through everything that I did, and I wouldn't wish to change anything, because the depth of my struggles is what has given me the pinnacle of being able to change other people's lives. I've been through so much, not to mention like an autoimmune disorder that I cured without prescription medication, overdosing, you know, having all of these issues where I can help anyone with pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Except for getting married, right? And navigating a relationship with a woman. Outside of that, there is nothing that I cannot help somebody learn or improve.
Yeah, I know we want to get into that big pharma thing. I'll let you take that, because even what we didn't know was that you were addicted to Percocets and then hurt your neck and then went back to the doctor and he didn't even listen to you, right? I want to get into that for sure.
Yeah, because we heard you when you were talking to Luke Belmar talk about how you pretty much cured yourself when they said, hey, you're going to have to be on this medication for the rest of your life. And that's it. There's no other solution.
Yeah.
And then you took 6 months and they thought that the
medication
medication worked faster than normal. And you're like, no, I did this shit on my own.
It was so crazy. I was a financial advisor, and you know, we would help people with their investments and then life insurance as well. And what I had realized was that whole life insurance was a good investment vehicle if you bought it early and you got a good rating. And so a bunch of my friends were like, hey, we like to be really risky in the stock market. Let us buy some of this whole life insurance. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's get you guys ratings. 5 of them did it. They all got ultra preferred or super preferred, the best rating. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't have any safe investments. Like, yeah, I have some bonds and stocks, but like I want to be riskier. And so I'm going to get this safe vehicle. So I apply for it. I get the blood test and it comes back and I'm declined. And I'm like, I'm healthier than all of them. You know, at that point I was sober and I was like eating clean and I worked out every day, or at least like was like, how is this possible? So I look at the labs and they're like, hey, you got to go see a doctor actually immediately. Like your liver enzymes are 5 times elevated. And I knew nothing about medicine or anything. I didn't even know what 5 times elevated liver enzymes meant. I'm like, okay, no idea. So I go to the doctor and they're like, whoa, this is really bad. Like within a year, you're going to have cirrhosis of the liver. Like you might have hepatitis. Like we're not 100% sure, but like, let's do these labs. So they pull more labs and they come back and they're like, man, we're going to have to do a biopsy. We're not 100% sure what's wrong with you. So they do a liver biopsy. They like go down through my neck and clip a little piece of my liver out and come back and they're like, you have autoimmune hepatitis, which is really strange because it's prevalent in little girls, not in a grown man. And we think it's, you know, a hereditary predisposition, meaning, you know, you didn't do anything to get this. And I'm like, are you sure? I did 5 beans a day, used to funnel vodka. Like, are you sure I didn't mess up my liver? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, strange. I'm like, so what are my options? They're like, you're going to be on these drugs for the rest of your life, this immunosuppressant and this steroid. And I was like, man, okay, this sounds like it sucks. I'm like, hey, just, you know, so that I know, could I make any changes in my diet or anything else that might help me? They're like, no, none of that. You're going to be on these drugs. I'm like, okay. So I take the drugs. And for 6 months, I'm taking the drugs and I'm starting getting these really bad side effects. And I'm like, man, I really don't like this. I'm getting tired. I feel lethargic. My body feels weak. I'm like, yo, guys, is there any way I can get off of this stuff? They're like, no, like your labs are still not good. I'm like, all right. So I start doing a ton of research on nutrition, on the liver, on autoimmune disorders. And I start seeing that if I did start eating really healthy, like organic whole foods diet and doing some glutathione injections, that I might be able to start to improve my liver. So I stop taking the medication. I start doing this. I get my blood labs again in 3 months. And they're like, whoa, holy shit, what's going on? The medication started working like out of nowhere, right? So for the first 6 months I was on the medication, no changes. And then 3 months is when I go back after just changing my diet. And they're like, wow, this is working so fast. Like you're almost cleaned up. How is this possible? And I'm like, fuck you guys. Like I've been off the medication for whatever it was, 3 months or 6 months. And they're like, wow, like what did you do? And I was like, yeah, let me tell you exactly. And so I started educating on them and they were just like, they couldn't believe it. They didn't want to hear it. She was, and so anyway, I was so pissed that they ended up dismissing me because I was such a prick to her about it.
Yeah.
And I never went back. I never went back to a traditional doctor again.
Wow.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Dallas Buyers Club.
Yep.
You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
Same.
similar, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Where he was just like, dude, this medication is killing me.
Yep.
I'm going to go figure out a holistic way to do this or with the right dosage. And they didn't want to hear it. FDA didn't want to hear that.
Because they don't want to cure you. They don't want to cure you. They want to keep you alive so you can keep on buying medication.
100%. Yeah. That's the whole goal, right?
Isn't
But
that
that's
so
your-
messed up?
That's
though?
your curiosity though.
Yeah.
Right? How you've been so curious for so long. Right? And it shows the opposite. The doctors weren't curious at all. If they were just a little bit more curious, maybe, who knows? They could have maybe even made more money in the long run doing different things than the other doctors are doing. You know what I mean?
So I asked the doctor, I was like, well, so why didn't you mention anything about nutrition? And what I ended up finding out is they don't study nutrition. They actually only have 2 days of nutrition education in their entire education for the 8 years that they go to school.
That's insane.
It's insane.
Now, the thing is this, it wouldn't make sense for them to cure someone through an alternative or holistic form when their entire practice is built on prescribing medications that fall under the insurance umbrella, which is lobbied by the big pharmaceutical companies. So traditional medicine just will never make sense. Look, I understand like a surgeon or some of these ER doctors are doing amazing things, but as a whole, a lot of doctors are not even given a chance to help people. Right. And I think some doctors eventually learn that and end up going into functional holistic medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. It always blew my mind, you know, because like I lost my mom when I was 12.
Damn. Sorry
So
to hear, brother.
I watched the chemo process, you know, and I get it. Cancer's a different animal. Right. And maybe chemo does help some. But like, I mean, do you think there's a cure for cancer? Or do you think there's a healthier way to do it than chemo, than zapping all the cells in your body, which is basically killing you just at a slower rate?
There's a center in Boca. It's called Hippocrates, and they help people cure or put their cancer into remission without any chemotherapy. And they have an incredible success rate.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there are definitely
Absolutely.
ways. Now, I think a lot of it is lifestyle choices. And we, for a long time, didn't know, right? Until social media and the internet got into a position where the access to this information was readily available, we didn't know that canola oil and vegetable oil were really harmful for you. We didn't know about some of these foods or about how Monsanto sprayed plants. We didn't know about fertilizers. And there's so many things that just we didn't know. We kind of took it at face value. And then once this information started coming out, it's obvious why many of these things would produce cancer. But there is also a genetic predisposition to having cancer. And so no matter what your lifestyle is, for some people, it might just be unavoidable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I believe, I think my dad told me this in the neighborhood my mom grew up in, 5 minutes from Comac in Greenlawn. There was like some type of toxin that was like spilled in the water line that like ran through, you know, the drinking water back then. There was no purified water. You're just drinking tap water.
Right.
And my mom and 2 of her best friends that she grew up with, they all died from cancer before the age of 50.
Wow.
And now, was that the reason? Also, you know, my mom was around. She worked at a bar, so had smoked cigarettes. They grew up in the, 60s, 70s, 80s. It was a different time, Nobody knew what cigarettes were really going to do to you. Does that have a role in it? Of course. I had this thought the other day where when, we don't think about, the future of our kids or our future generations with the decisions we're making today. And I've said, I don't blame my mom in any way, but it's that choice of maybe, if it was the wall, who knows? But she died of lung cancer. So let's say cigarettes, right? Mm-hmm. It's just dude, that costed me having a mom growing up. That costed her life, not even to make it to 50 to, see her son grow up, right? These little decisions. Think about all the decisions you made that can affect your future son, but you turned it around, you didn't. And it's just, it made me think, cause I'm dude, I don't blame my mom at all for that. But it gave me a reality check of cut the stupid shit out now for your future son or your future daughter or your future wife, because decisions I'm making today is going to affect them and they're not even in my life yet.
Totally.
And it's just so,
it's a great perspective.
It's so wild to think about because I think we just get lost in it. We get lost in the day to day, stupid decision here, I'm invincible. I'll figure it out. I'm here. And it's just at some point it's going to catch up. We all have people that it caught up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it.
I've seen it firsthand. You know what I was also sitting here thinking? You live in Miami now, right?
Yeah, I live in Miami Beach.
What made you move back? Because you came down here. This is really where you hit rock bottom, right?
Yeah, so I moved here 6.5 years ago, almost coming up on 7 years. And when I moved, I spent those 3 months partying and then I hit my rock bottom. I actually stayed. I didn't leave.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking about going back to Vermont, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to try and get sober here. That's when I went to AA meetings. And I remember my friends telling me bro, this is going to be a tough city to get
That's
sober
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And I did it. And so a lot of times, when people say to me now, well, what's it like living in Miami? Oh, that's a party place. That's this, it's that. It's look, I understand the stigma because I have lived both lives, but I'm not even slightly exposed to anybody who is demeaning, partying, fucking up their lives, OnlyFans, fucking whores. I don't even see that it exists because I live the opposite life. While everyone's still fucked up and sleeping in, we're wake surfing at 8 a.m. While everyone's still doing stupid shit, I'm at the gym. Saturday mornings, I'm meeting with my mentor at 7 a.m. at a private country club that people can't even go to. I'm focusing on my health, on my mind, on helping other people. I'm at the gym, I'm at church. I don't even see this other side of Miami. So you can develop this. It just takes a lot of time. And if you want to network with people that are on that same line, you got to become that person, which means you're going to have to go through a period of isolation of building yourself into that person who can be alone and who can involve themselves only in these healthy, positive activities.
There's one other thing that I want to ask you a question, and it was something that we spoke about with Lilo too, because you said that you love to smoke weed and pop Xanax, and that was because of your anxiety. And I don't pop Xanax, but I do smoke a lot of weed. And I did have a little bit of a problem 2 years ago, party drugs, right? And I have been sober that specifically 460 days, I think it is, right? Nice. But I still smoke weed. And when we spoke to Lilo still smokes weed. And I just want to know, I don't think that you smoke weed, but there are people out there that are like, oh, well, I stopped doing Coke or K or Molly or 2C or whatever, but I still smoke weed. I just want to get your opinion on it.
For me, I don't smoke weed. I haven't smoked weed since I got
you're fully sober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think weed limits your ability to actually observe your mind and to be able to handle whatever it is that you're using weed as a quieting or a creative agent. And I used to say this too, hey, I'm not as creative when I don't smoke weed. I can't quiet my mind. I'm not as relaxed, and it has all these positive benefits. I sleep better. I this, I that. You can stop smoking weed altogether and achieve the same relaxed state of mind with a more observed and aware mind, right? That's the state that I'm in now. Look, my natural tendency is to rip people's heads off and to utilize my ability to communicate to annihilate them and feel like zero. But I don't do that anymore because I have a daily practice of meditation. Like meditation is what has helped me completely re-engineer my mind to the max. And meditation is not quieting one's mind. You can't be without thoughts for more than 20, 30 seconds, maybe the fucking Dalai Lama for a minute, right?
Yeah.
The thoughts will enter your mind. The point of meditation is to be able to observe your thoughts, to realize that when a thought enters your mind, you didn't control that thought. That thought is based off of 38 years of my opinion, my upbringing, my judgment, my bias, everything that's happened in my life or my preconditioning. But I do decide what I do with that thought. And once you become aware that there are thoughts that are entering your mind that aren't useful, that you don't need to pay attention to, that are not in the present moment, that are filled with fear, that are filled with ego, you can note them and label them. And today, not always, but when I'm really aligned, I can see that that thought is not something that I need to pay attention to, and I can let it go. That's what my daily practice of meditation has done, which has helped me tremendously in business and in relationships. Because in business, a thought will enter the mind, I should do this, this, and this. And it's like, no, that's not mission critical. That's not going to generate revenue. And that's not going to help my employees move things down the line. So I think weed is really just not necessary.
It's an excuse, right?
I think you can achieve a better state of mind without it.
Yeah, that helped me a lot just now. Because I remember when we were talking to Arlen and I asked him about what his meditation looked like every day. And the way he explained it, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really get it too much. But the way that you just explained it being aware of your thoughts, because I always sit there and I'm like, damn, there's no way I could sit there for 5 minutes and not think. You know what I'm saying? But hearing the way that you just said it, we're like, no, it's not about that. It's about being aware of what you're thinking, noting, and keeping what's right and pushing away what's not necessary. Yeah, there's no question that you just helped me.
But meditation is a practice. So when you strength train in the gym, in order to build muscle, you have to do many repetitions, right? One repetition won't do shit. Right? When a thought enters your mind, you are going to play out the movie, okay? Which means your mind runs you. You are not capable of stopping and releasing that thought. And this still happens to me, right? The thought comes in, did I email my assistant yesterday? And then what's the next thought? Did I record that VSL? Oh shit, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I didn't respond to Evan about this. And now I'm thinking 3 months down the line about a ski trip that I didn't respond to. And how did that start? I forgot to email my assistant. I played out the movie, right? But in meditation, once I catch myself playing out the movie, I can say, hey, that's fine that I had that thought. Let's return to center. And your mental talk is only one sensory experience. You also have visual images. You have sensation in your body sensations. You have sight, you have sound, you have vision, and these things can all distract you. So I went through a whole series of meditations that taught me about how I process and return to center on all sensory experience. For example, I went through a technique in which I would tighten every muscle in my body one by one and then release the tension and feel the feeling of relaxation. This put me in a position where I started to understand where I was holding tension in my body and how that manifested itself through thought. Same thing with vision. I would do this and through these practices, it would show me how I process this and then how I could return to center. So in my day-to-day life, I've become extremely aware of how I am distracted. And now it's very easy for me to return to center because of all this sensory experience that I did in the practice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, I think they say we have 70,000 thoughts roughly per day. And I think, 80 or 90% of them are from the day before.
Yeah, sounds about
It's
right.
insane. So if you don't let those shitty thoughts go, well, they're going to come right back. And usually they get worse and worse and worse because we don't know how to observe them correctly. And then we go down that rabbit hole of 3 months down the road and all the negative things. But it's like pouring into, you can't pour into a cup that's full. And if your mind is just cluttered with all the thoughts from the last day and the day before that and the day before that, you have no room for new ideas, new thoughts to come in. And that's why, I mean, those alone times, I mean, where do we all get our best ideas? In the car by ourselves, when there's no music playing, in the shower, when there's no phone, no distraction, when we're sitting out on the balcony with no phone at 7 a.m. and it's quiet. that's when the downloads come in.
Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, we have to, I think I read it in, I want to say it was in The Saint, the Surfer, and the CEO. And they talked about the mind being like a slideshow and your thoughts. And it's like, because we can only have one thought at a time too.
Right.
People don't know that. Like you can't have two thoughts at the same time.
Nope.
So it's one, another one, another one, another one, right? But if you can observe them and slideshow, next one, next one, next one. Oh, this is a good one. Now let me observe that one and dive deeper. That's how you can try to negate those negative ones, because they'll run your life if you let them.
100%.
100%.
I want to jump into like what you're doing now, because I feel like we talked about all the roller coaster of life, but like obviously you're super successful, dude. And you figured your life out. Yeah. So what do you do now, and I guess why did you get into this space?
Yeah. My focus is helping business owners scale their businesses by becoming better leaders, by building a team, and then by putting systems and structure into place. Throughout the 2 years that I've been on Instagram and created coaching programs, I've had a one-on-one business mentorship, but I've also had a group mindset program, which focused on mindset, fitness, nutrition, helping people with personal development. I'm focusing less on that because I've really seen some of the transformative impact that I've had on business owners, but I always help them change their mindset with their habits as their foundation. So becoming a better leader is the foundation. Like if they're trying to build a team and put systems into place, yet they're an undisciplined asshole that doesn't have an ability to lead, then we got to build the foundation. I got into this because I started scaling companies. When COVID happened, I took over a functional medicine company. We scaled that 300% in a year. I became a better leader by working with a mentor. I learned how to communicate. I learned how to lead. I learned how to handle my emotions, how not to be a dickhead to my employees. And then I built culture and a team with proper incentives that really started to drive the business. And, we went from 4 million in revenue to 12 million in revenue in that year and a half. And then I became president of 10X Health. I was just working 16 hours a day, both companies, like just literally nonstop work, 7 days a week. I was obsessed with it. And it was great because I got the most business experience I ever could. And I was able to scale companies to a level that I probably would have not been able to if I started a company on my own at that time. As we built 10X, I noticed, wow, I'm really good at building culture. I'm really good at building teams. I was really good with process and incentives and building a business that could function without me. And so I decided, hey, I'm going to leave 10X because I want freedom, right? I want to be my own business owner. I want to, not have to be on someone else's time. So I started a consultancy where I was helping healthcare companies grow and scale their business. And I was helping companies around the world do this. I was still helping 10X. I was helping a bunch of people. I was working probably 2-3 hours a day, and I was very unfulfilled. I was like, this is kind of boring. I meet Wes Watson on a boat, okay? And he's asked me about my story. I tell him everything. And I'm like, what do you do? He tells me coaching. And I look at his Instagram real quick. And at the time, I had formed a supplement manufacturing company because during my consulting process, some of these functional companies wanted to get into supplements and e-com. So I formed this company and I had helped 2 of them do this. And I said to Wes, hey, brother, I can build Wes Watson supplements. You don't have to do shit. Like I will create the packaging, the branding, the formulation. I'll house the shit in a warehouse. I'll take care of fulfillment, everything. I have all these teams set up. I was like, I could probably add $2 million net to your bottom line year 1. And he goes, motherfucker, I make more than $2 million a month. And I was like, doing coaching, doing this shit online? And he was like, yeah. He was like, and I just want to know, like, why are you not doing this? And I'm like, bro, my ego, bro. I don't want to make selfie videos and get online and do this shit. I'll never forget. He just looks at me and he goes, do you really think that you've been through all this shit, come out on the other side to stay quiet and not help other people? And I was like, you're probably right. And I was like, but I just don't know about it, man. He's like, you're just selfish. And I was like, damn, he's right. He's really right. I was like, all right, so what does it look like? So I just paid him for his 3-month program, $7,500. He showed me how to get online. And it was just on from there. The moment I got online, everything just started blowing up because I had been living this for the past 4 years. Yeah. I had become disciplined. I got rid of drugs and alcohol. I was praying. I was meditating. I developed a relationship with God. I scaled companies. I personally developed every single employee that ever worked for me. I would give them the option. Hey, if you guys want a meal plan and a fitness plan and a morning routine and habits, I taught them all meditation. I had been coaching people for years.
Right.
So when I got online, it exploded. It was so natural.
Wow.
I got to a period in my journey where I was like, look, I just want to focus on helping entrepreneurs and higher level business people because I'm having a more transformative effect and I like working with this subset of people. So I sort of transitioned into just working with business owners and helping them scale their companies.
Fire. Yeah, that's so, I mean, I know you've heard it obviously being down here because there is like this, I guess, misconception or stigma with Miami and the coaching programs and the course guys. And I think there is and as you probably as well, there is a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these guys and they are kind of scammers and they're not going to teach you shit.
Yeah.
But I think what separates you is you've lived it.
Yeah.
And that's like the number one key factor of someone that I want to listen to. It's have they been through shit? Did they come out on the other side? And they proved it. It's not like I'm telling you, what you should do, but I never even did it myself. I'm just regurgitating someone else's coaching program that I add a little twist and then charge you $10,000 a month for it.
Exactly.
And yeah, man, I think it's important.
That's the other reason that I moved into wanting to help business owners specifically is because it was a lot of brain damage of dealing with the mindset and personal development stuff of every single person coming through the funnel being like, yeah, but this is a scam, coaching's a scam, this and that. And it's like, all right, dude, if you guys all think that I'm just going to focus on higher level people, you know? And the craziest thing is this, I've had one-on-one clients who probably weren't qualified to sign up for my one-on-one program. And I would give them advice that I had literally just given to a successful business owner. And the successful business owner would tell me, holy shit, this was a $50,000 call. Like you just gave me gold advice. I literally don't even need another call with you, right? They had paid me and they would just take one call and be like, holy shit, you changed everything. I would give that same advice to a lower level person and they would be like, I don't think this program is for me. I want a refund. I'm like, okay. So what I had just realized and I'm very good at distilling information to a simple manner and explaining things that even any person could understand. So it's not that I wasn't explaining things properly. I could have explained that to a 5-year-old. Right. It's just that they didn't know how to apply the information. And so that there is a bad stigma in the industry. And I think a lot of it is valid, but that's why I really want to work with just higher level people now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important. Yeah. Hermosi talks about a lot of how why his content is so digestible. It's because he breaks it down to like a 5th grade level where everyone can kind of understand and it doesn't feel like he's just saying a bunch of big words to have, and it kind of makes people scared because they're like, I don't even know what this guy's saying.
Yeah.
If you had to talk to a 21 to 25-year-old young man right now, he's lost, doesn't really have money, struggling with women, has no idea what he wants to do with his life. What would you tell him on a 5th grade level that he can actually take this knowledge and apply it tomorrow?
The first thing I would do is write out his 1-year goals. So I would look at what are his personal goals and just pick 3 or 4. These are things like become 190 pounds and have a visible 6-pack. Learn a language, become proficient in Spanish, shoot a sub 80 in golf, become a master in chess, whatever. Personal goals only, things that you like and want to do. Then the next would be career-oriented goals and super, super simple. How much money do you want to make within a year and what position do you want to have, working at what kind of company? And then the last one would be, what do you want to do? What kind of lifestyle you want? What are you going to do with the money? I want to invest this much in crypto. I want to Audemars. I want to ghost. I want to take my family on vacations. Okay. Each bucket, not more than 4 goals. Very, very simple. And if you have less in your career goals, perfect. Now, what we need to do from those goals is say, what am I going to need to do on a daily basis in order to achieve these goals? If someone needs to lose 10 pounds and have a visible 6-pack, they're going to need to go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week and start eating in a different way to achieve that. So we need to build these habits into their daily routine. Same thing with learning a skill. If I want to learn Spanish, I'm going to need to probably listen to an hour a day of, Spanish videos. I'm going to need to practice for 30 minutes with somebody else, right? I'm going to have to lay out a plan. So let's lay out an action plan for each and every single item. The financial stuff is going to be that person gaining the skills that they need to earn that amount of money. So whatever that is, they're going to need to learn how to communicate better, how to persuade better, maybe how to lead people, some marketing or technical skills. Once they figure out what those skills are, just go on YouTube and start asking ChatGPT, create me a plan on how to develop these skills. Now, when learning and developing these skills to make this amount of money, there's one thing that's imperative. The ingestion of information will never actually change someone's competency of that skill. They have to speak out loud and practice what they've learned. If I listen to Spanish music, I'm never going to learn how to speak Spanish until I practice doing it. The problem is that people don't like practicing or speaking or trying when they're not proficient in something because they look stupid. Okay, so they have to be willing to do these things. Okay, so we look at this goal, we create an action plan on what needs to happen for them to be able to achieve those things. Obviously, having mentorship is key, but not everyone can afford it. But then they need to take an audit of their life. Who are the people that I'm hanging out with? What are the places that I'm going? And what are the things that I'm doing? And if I'm hanging around with losers that aren't trying to progress or live this life or already at a little bit of a higher level, I'm gonna have to spend less time with them. And the hardest thing is that could be family members. That could be really close friends. But when you reduce that influence and eventually replace it with better influence, things are gonna change. When you stop going to the wrong places, the bar, the club, the wherever, and you replace it with the gym, with church, with the library, with whatever, some better places, things are going to start to change. And when you stop doing the things that aren't contributing to your goals, Netflix, smoking weed or drinking or whatever it is, then your life can start to change. So you got to subtract all the shit, look at all your goals, and then follow that action plan and stop thinking about when am I going to get the results. The results are going to happen on God's time. But if each and every day you've subtracted the bullshit and you're following your action plan, inevitably you're going to get to a position where you're moving towards your goals.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's
That'll help a lot of people.
Yeah, dude, because I think that's like the scariest place for a lot of people and why they never start, because the hardest part is starting.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's the easiest thing. It's just one foot in front of the other, and it is making that initial change, but it becomes so overwhelming for a lot of these young guys. And the safest place they know is those escape methods.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the law of exposure is also massive, which is you have to get around or figure out a way to get exposure to people that are operating at the level that you want. Yeah. Because otherwise you're just living with these blinders on of everybody in my world, everybody who I know is doing this, this, and this. That's what I should be doing. But once you get around someone like myself and you're like, holy shit, that guy leaves dinner at 10 o'clock and he doesn't go to the club afterwards. That guy says no to those things. That guy takes a girl out on a date and the girl says, can you pick me up at 9 o'clock? And he texts her back, I don't think that we're a good match, and never talks to her again. You would never know to operate like that. But I operate like that because of the way that I value my time and the things that I do. But you couldn't even see that would ever even be an option, right? Or like, oh, dude, I don't know how to order on the menu. I don't order on the menu. I say I want grilled chicken, rice, and veggies. Not all the time. I still eat whatever I want sometimes. But like I'm operating in a way that people don't even know is possible. You saw me with the car down there. No, everybody would have taken that at face value and let that guy drive the valet in the car somewhere. Yeah. And I said to him, brother, I understand, but I've already done this before. And here's how it's going to work. And he was like, no, it's not going to work. How many times did I have to tell him? Yeah. 4 or 5 times. And he said,
and he's speaking fluent Spanish. I have no idea what he's saying.
And he said, no. And he said, no, I can't do that. And what I said to him in Spanish was, no, it's not that you can't do it. It's just that you don't want to take a moment right now to figure out how it can be done. But let me tell you, brother, it can be done because I've been here before and someone has accepted Zelle before. Yeah. I've never been here before. Yeah. Nobody's ever accepted Zelle here. He ends up taking a picture of my car, sending it to the manager, and the manager saying, oh yeah, the guy knows you. He doesn't. Yeah. But just by me not accepting things at face value. So anyway, I say this because like when you get exposed to how these people operate, it's like, whoa, that's all I have to do. I'm not actually that much different than them. And that's why I think coaching and mentorship in these programs is so valuable, because you can see so much. And people are like, oh, it's a scam. It's like, dude, if you could just take 5 things from me and see how I operate with just my perspective, my mindset, my posture, how I operate and how I communicate, it could change your life forever.
I got 2 questions. What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Save money.
Wow.
Why?
Because I think it's a scarcity mindset of like, oh, you're going to save a little bit of money and save your way into wealth and make sure you always have this and make sure you always have that. It's like, no, that's not what I found. What I found is that spending money and putting myself in positions sometimes that were uncomfortable were the thing that drove me and motivated me. I suppose everyone's different, but when I'm comfortable, it's not a good place for me to be. Right. And I'm not saying go buy shit that you really can't afford, but it's like, look, I've spent $50K at times investing in my business or doing these things, or maybe buying a place or something that put me in a position where it might've been like a little bit of a stretch at the time, but it was like, yo, when I got that apartment, having that ocean view every single day, that motivated the fuck out of me. It put me in a way different position than if I was still in my 1-bedroom bottom floor apartment, you know? And so I think, like, really invest in oneself is the best. You're never going to save your way into wealth.
Yeah. And then obviously I've heard you talk about how like your mentor was a huge piece in your life. So what was the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Fear is not real. The worst possible outcome of any situation is what you project in your mind before the situation materializes. Yeah, that changed my life the most.
Yeah, we premeditate things and prepare for things that haven't even happened yet.
Yeah, we make up a lot of the problems.
And the second part of that is that premeditated outcome, even if it does come true, might be the best thing for us. But our mind tells us that we want a certain desired outcome because we can only see 1 or 2 steps ahead, thinking that we know what's best for ourselves. But if we really accept God's will for us, what we'll understand is that even the worst possible outcome may be the thing that changes our life and puts us in the best possible position, only if we accept God's will and keep an open mind.
It's like the Chinese farmer story. You know that one?
Something about the kid and
who knows what's good or bad.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Dad always says
that
maybe.
story changed my life.
Yeah. That's and I've experienced this time and time and time again, right? Like hitting my rock bottom was the best thing that ever happened to me. Number 1, getting drugged and robbed by that lady was the best thing that ever happened to me. Getting fired from jobs, the best thing that ever happened to me. Some of the worst situations and the most trouble, best things ever. People that wrongfully harmed me that I really wanted to retaliate against. And I refrained and I asked God, why is this happening? Eventually I was shown why it was happening. He was moving my business and my life in a new direction. And he couldn't have otherwise done so if I remained in a position of comfort and someone didn't reach out and move me in that way. But it was really painful at the time. But luckily I have God, and I just said, hey, help me accept your will and show me what I should be doing next. He moved mountains for me. When he gives you gifts, it's not just, oh, here you go. I'm going to give you a new skill and a new talent and a bunch of money. It's, hey, I'm going to make things really fucking difficult for you. So difficult that it forces you to become somebody that can achieve that end goal that you really want.
That's why I always say, like, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you pray for. Because I think a lot of times in life, we think we want things, but we forget what it's going to take to get there. You know, we think, oh, God, I want this thing. And he's just like, oh, here you go.
Yeah, here it is.
No, it's like, no, I'm going to put you in a situation where, 1, when you get the thing, you're not going to lose it. And 2, that it's going to prepare you to understand what this thing is so you don't screw it up.
Yeah.
And that takes pain and hardships and heartbreak and losing people and thinking that being in a position, how am I going to figure this out? But then you realize, like, when you get the thing, it's like, thank you that I went through all of that. Because like you said earlier, if you, you said, yeah, maybe now at 31, I feel like, I'm starting a little late. But if you got it at 26, could have lost it.
Exactly.
Yep.
My friend used to always say this funny thing. He would say, what do you get if you pray for patience? And I was like, I don't know, maybe I get patience. He would say, no, you get opportunities to practice patience. And what does that look like? Well, that comes in the form of people that really piss you off, slow assholes. So if you pray for patience, you better be ready for some slow assholes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, Hermosi talked about that a lot, about like the 6 key attributes of a man. If you had to build your perfect person, like a creative player in a video game, it's not like you just raise the bar to 99. It's like you have to put them in certain situations to have patience, to have a crazy physique, to have mental fortitude, to not fold under pressure, right? But the only way to get those attributes is pain and struggle.
Exactly.
People don't want to wait the game. They just want to reap the benefits, but not pay the price.
Yep.
This was awesome, dude.
Yeah, this was amazing, bro.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
for having
bro. I
me.
really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Likewise.
Yeah, like I've said with Champ, you know, before, because he was just spitting on the pod, you know, the whole time. And I was like, it's fun to interview people where I actually like can learn.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes in the podcast thing, you know, you have people on because they're going to get you views, and that's just part of the game and whatever. But to podcast and actually like learn on the pod and then also be interested in the person as well. I mean, this was exactly that. So
Nice.
I appreciate
I'm
you,
glad.
brother.
Thanks for having
Thank
me,
you,
guys.
brother. We appreciate it.
Yeah, where can I'll put all your stuff in the description, but where can everyone find you and, you know, potentially look into if they're, you know, if we have entrepreneurs here looking to scale their business and grow, or just maybe even just follow you on social media to learn from you.
Yeah, it's at Wade Houston on Instagram, and I started a YouTube channel as well. It's Wade Houston on YouTube.
Fire.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother.
Let's get it.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
bro.
Hell yeah.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having me.